it's James here from goodguitarist.com, and today I want to show you some beautiful chord shapes that you can play that use only 2 fingers each. And these work on either acoustic or electric guitar. You can mix and match them with the basic campfire chords, put them in whatever order you want, and make some really cool, interesting chord progressions out of them. You can use them for songwriting, jamming. They're really refreshing, as far as your creativity and your musical imagination is concerned, because they'll let you break out of the basic shapes in an easy and fun way. And we're going to teach you the shapes, but we're also going to talk about how to express them, how to make them come alive. We'll strum them, but we'll also get creative with the rhythm, picking out the notes, finger picking them. And I've put all of this into a worksheet, so you can use that to follow along with this lesson. You'll have something to practice with that'll guide you through this entire thing step by step, so you can get the bigger picture. And that's available on my Patreon. I also have my free ebook and my premium courses. There's links to all that stuff down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Anyways, let's get started now. Here's our first chord shape. And all we have to do is press a couple frets. We're going to play the 6th fret of the D string and then the 6th fret of the G string. And I'm using these 2 fingers just like when I'm playing E minor, but you could use those 2 fingers. It's all the same. But I'm going to play it this way with my middle finger and my ring finger, because when it comes to transitioning to the next shape, it makes it a little bit simpler. So we have A major 7. Then I'm going to leave my middle finger down and I'm going to slide it to the 2nd fret of the D string, and I'm going to add my ring finger where it belongs on a C chord. So I'm basically just playing a C chord but without my first finger. Top 5 strings once again. And before we learn all the shapes, let's just take the 2 we have so far and start experimenting with the rhythm. This is what really makes it come to life. It can be as simple as that, just strumming them, and they sound great, but you can also do something like this. And that was really simple. I was just starting at the A string and just picking through the strings. Then I did the same thing for the next chord. And there we're doing a technique called arpeggiating. And that just means to pick out the individual notes of a chord instead of strumming them. And we could even combine arpeggiating with strumming and get something like this. Now, one other thing, before we move on and learn the rest of the chords, you could also finger pick, and that's really closely related to arpeggiating, except instead of using a pick, we're just using our fingers. Anyways, we have a few shapes left. Next, we have E minor 9. And that is the thickest string and then the 2nd fret on the A string. And then we're going to play the 4th fret of the D string. That's the 9, because there's your E minor chord. But if you add this note here, it becomes E minor, add 9. And you can do it with your ring finger and really arch your fingers. Or you can do it with your pinky finger. I like that. It's a little bit easier for my wrist. Otherwise, the rest of the strings are open. We strum all the strings. And then we have D6, and that's just a D chord, except without your ring finger. So it's just those 2 fingers, and you really got to arch. We're on the top 4 strings. Open, 2, open, 2. So you can practice, play around with the rhythm going between those 2 chords. Just experiment with it. There I was just picking the bottom 3 strings, 1 and 2, and then I did a little strum. And then when I switched to the D chord, I started on the D string, 1 and 2, and then I strummed the chord. You know, so that's a fun way to do it. Now from here, we're going to leave our first finger down, and then we're going to put our middle finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, the root of the C chord. And this is, I would call this C major 13 or A minor 11 over C. You know, it's not, the notes are so close together, it's so clustered that you could actually give it a couple different names. And this is a really popular voicing nowadays in neo soul, actually. It's like a really pentatonic sounding voicing. You know, and coming from the D chord, we just pivot off that first finger. It's nice and airy sounding. And then we have A sus2, which is like, for some people, the first chord they learn. You know, I'm just playing on the D string, the 2nd fret, and then on the G string, the 2nd fret. And this one goes well with that very first chord we learned, because it's the same thing, but now we're on the 6th fret instead. You know, they sound really similar because they're both A chords. You know, so for those last 2 chords, just take a minute with them. And finally, we can mix in a plain old campfire chord, E major. So experiment with them 2 at a time, you know. The A major 7 going into C major 7, that's a really cool sound. Then E minor add 9 going into D6. Then this one, C major 13 or whatever, going into A sus2, going into E. And once you played around with them in pairs, I like to put them in the following order. You know, I think it sounds really cool. We do them in the order we learn them in, you know, and I want you to just strum each chord once and practice switching just so you can get used to the shapes. A, going to C, going to E minor, to D, to this one here, to A sus2, and then to E. You know, and you can see them all there in order. And yeah, just try strumming each chord once to get used to the shapes, but eventually I want you to experiment, you know, by arpeggiating with your pick or your fingers, and you'll end up with something like this. Just picking through all the strings. So I was just picking the strings and ascending, you know, going up musically, right? The notes are going up. And that's all I did for each one of those chords, you know, or you could do something like this. But you're welcome to experiment and use them any way you want. I especially think it's cool if you use just 1 or 2 of them along with the regular shapes, you know. You know, so I just took a couple of them and then I played some campfire chords, and that sounded pretty cool. And now it's up to you to take that and come up with your own chord progressions and use them for songwriting or just make some jams. You know, you could try it with a looping pedal like this. and I'm sure you're going to come up with something great. Just remember to practice the shapes and get the chord hand effortless, and then you'll be able to focus all your attention on the rhythm. And if you would like, there's a worksheet on my Patreon page that goes over all of this, and it'll help you master these shapes as well as the way to play them and bring them to life. There's a link down below for that. Don't forget to download my free ebook or take a look at my premium courses like my Complete Beginner's course or Fingerpicking Mastery. Otherwise, have a fun time practicing, and I'll see you next time.